Welcome back to the channel, fellow shredder. You probably noticed by now I absolutely love guitar solos. And you awesome subscribers also seem to love them because it's one of the most requested topics ever on this channel. However, there are some big dangers when it comes to technical and virtuosic shredding. Sometimes we are trapped in shapes and sound like we're just practicing our scales over the music, playing them up and down. And admit it together with me, we also often feel like we're constantly using the same boring licks and ideas over and over again. That's why I want to introduce you to an amazing new system today in the form of 6 awesome sounding exercises. So spend these next 10 minutes together with me. I promise this will immediately make you sound much better and more accomplished as a lead guitar player.
Let the shredding begin.
We are working with the A harmonic minor scale for all the exercises today. Please don't panic in case you never worked with this scale so far. There's just one note in the A minor scale you have to change to get the A harmonic minor scale. You simply have to raise the 7th note by a semitone. So you just have to change G to G sharp in every position to get the A harmonic minor scale. A minor and A harmonic minor. As you can hear, this small change makes the sound much more interesting already. It's simply a bit darker, more interesting and more exotic than natural minor. So when you learn a new scale or practice scales in general, you're always drawn to playing it as fast as possible, up and down. Please allow me to offer a more interesting and musical approach with exercise number 1. We are just starting out with this one, but it does sound pretty cool already, right? And it's also not that hard, and I'm sure you can do this just after a couple of tries. So what is this all about? I want to introduce you to intervallic patterns today. We will work with thirds, fourths and sixths today. The last one being my absolute favorite and one of the best kept secrets, so make sure to stick around for that. So instead of playing the notes ascending or descending as we do way too often, you will play the notes in this order for the first exercise. A, C, B, D, C, E, D, F and so on. So you're always skipping a note in between and you're playing a pattern of thirds through the scale. You're always playing a continuous pattern of downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, and so on. Now it already gets more interesting with exercise number 2. For this one we're gonna play the pattern back down the scale and this already sounds so much cooler. Check it out. This sounds so awesome, dramatic and interesting already. But so far so good, enough with the easy patterns, you might know this particular approach already. But what most players either don't know or don't use enough is that you can apply this system to any kind of interval pattern. This is today's trick and main takeaway that will make your guitar solos sound really unique and awesome as soon as you experiment with it. To start out, let's see what happens when we play through the scale in fourths instead of thirds. Now that sounds really unique and I bet it sounded less predictable melodically as well to your ears when I was playing through the scale, meaning that you maybe couldn't already hear or predict the next note I was going to play as I was ascending in the scale. You're used to hearing ideas and harmonies based on thirds all the time, but fourths are not used that much in this fashion outside of jazz and fusion music, so please make sure to take advantage of this unique and really awesome sound. To analyze the pattern again, you are now playing A, D, B, E, C, F, D, G sharp and so on. So you're essentially skipping 2 notes in the scale and you're always playing fourths this way. perfect fourths most of the time, but you also have dissonant augmented fourths in there because of the scale structure of harmonic minor, which makes the sound incredibly interesting in this case. And you guessed it, it sounds even better and more interesting when you turn this pattern around. So cool, I absolutely love the sound of that. It's one of the best daily technique and music theory exercises we ever looked at on this channel. Make sure to join our community of over 3,000 awesome players on patreon.com/Bernd after watching today's video to practice all of this together with me. As always, I recorded much slower video play alongs and backing tracks you can practice with, and I also added the detailed tabs and guitar profiles just for you. It's much more fun and effective to work with these files I made especially for you every single day instead of trying to master this completely by yourself. Come a little closer now. Okay, nobody's watching. Now you're ready for the really good stuff. Here's my absolute favorite pattern of them all. Now instead of working with thirds or fourths, we will work with sixths. A word that really challenges my Austrian accent. These bigger interval jumps sound so amazing and I love to work with them in my music right now. This already sounds so much better than just playing the scale up or down, although you're still working with a pattern/exercise right here. Okay, honestly, how cool is that? I bet you heard something like this already and got frustrated when you tried to replicate this awesome neoclassical complex sound. Playing and writing scale patterns like that sounds so harmonically complex and virtuosic, but it's actually just a really simple trick and the exact same system we looked at earlier with the beginner patterns. I was simply working with more interesting intervals right here, so instead of playing thirds or fourths, I was focusing on sixths. So with this exercise you are playing A, F, B, G sharp, C, A, D, B, and so on. So you're skipping 4 notes in the scale now and get these beautiful big interval jumps. Aside from sounding very musical and creative, this is also a great exercise for your picking hand. I still want you to keep that alternate picking pattern throughout the entire exercise, so downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, and so on. And with these big interval jumps, it means that you will have to do some string skipping in there. Let's turn this pattern around once again for the final and most challenging exercise of today, but it's also the best sounding one and it will really twist your brain and your fingers as well. Honestly, it's so much fun to play, practice and compose like that once you get used to this system. And after practicing today's exercises, phrases like this will slowly creep into your songwriting and improvised takes. The bigger those interval jumps get, the more exciting and fresh your ideas will sound like. When it comes to practicing all of this effectively, I'd like to recommend a specific system today. Most of you that are part of my YouTube community for a longer time now know that I like to work with blocks in my practice routine. Those blocks are dedicated to big general topics like alternate picking, sweep picking, chord theory, improvisation, scales, and so on. I dedicate a specific amount of time, like 20 minutes to each block daily, to make sure that I have a balanced workout session every day. So if you're working on alternate picking right now, and you should definitely work on alternate picking right now, you should really try and feature at least 2 of these exercises in your block. If string skipping is currently on the agenda, make sure to work with exercises 5 and 6 to master this skill. Generally speaking, try to find 4 to 5 topics that you really need to master in order to play the music that you love. This is obviously very different for all of us, and it makes no sense to add sweep picking on there if you don't really love the sound and if you don't want to use this technique in your music at all. And then fill each of these blocks with exercises and swap them weekly or monthly to keep this challenging and interesting for you. My lesson archive on Patreon covers all topics you need on your journey by now, with over 160 lessons. And the greatest feature is that you can simply type in a topic you want to improve in the search bar and immediately get the best exercises for that. Of course, I also help out patrons with individual practice plan creation in case you need some assistance with that. Make sure to blast my new album Elevation at full volume to hear this system in action on some of these tracks. And don't forget to subscribe to join our YouTube community today. Thanks a lot for watching today's video all the way until the end. Your big reward is today's random German word, Ohrfeige, which means slap to the face, but it literally translates to ear fig, which is hilarious. Make sure to comment that word below to confuse everybody that didn't watch this video until the end. I will hopefully see you again in the next video. All the best and have a lot of fun practicing until then. Bye bye.